correct that. So all I'm asking is the staff team aware that there's evidence that they're aware of that content being shared and that they're doing nothing about it?
Don't know if I have the answer to answer that.
Okay, well, what are your personal thoughts on that?
On what?
Because I have no ill will or hard feeling towards you, because it very clearly seems you're to the side and letting the other numbers and generic deal with that, which is more than fair. It only takes one of y'all to have to look into this, as far as I'm concerned. But you're aware generic himself specifically said that he saw the concerning content and was going to address it, and currently nothing has been done. And if there is evidence of that, like I say there is, because there is, then don't you see the concern there? Like he said, I see the problem, and then didn't act on it.
What's going on?
Are you aware of the investigation that happened on Alicia and why it happened?
Supposed pornographic sharing.
Yeah, so the supposed isn't true. I have proof that generic admit that he saw the issue himself. He went into the server and saw it, and he said as much. So, no. I've got that proof. I'm not bullshitting you. I've got that proof. So, with that in mind, what do you think about that?
I was helping with the investigation.
Right, and you saw the channel for porn in a server with minors run by a minor?
Yes, I did. Now it is the... pardon me. I was just eating. So, unfortunately, I left this server unattended. Not this, but the GT server. Unattended. I own the server.
Oh, so you're the one who owns the server that has allowed minors in, that has a porn room.
I literally have it tucked away in a folder, and I've never... Actually, it's not even on this account. I have not even joined it on this account. I completely had forgotten about that that server, because I gave the owner role to Alicia.
Right.
And me and Generic did an investigation. The main person, the person who recommended that channel be created, and the person that constantly posted in that
Okay, well, let's retrack a little bit. Alicia was given the owner role, and you were not actively moderating, therefore meaning that for all intents and purposes, she was practically the owner. Well, maybe not technically, she was practically the owner, or at least the head of staff.
Yes.
She was at least the head of staff, technically speaking. So that in mind, she, a minor, and she knows she's a minor because she should know her own age, created a porn channel in this server where she knew there were other minors and adults. Is that correct?
Yes.
Cool. Now, well, not cool, but we're on the same page so far. Now, you see that as an issue, right?
An issue...
I'm not saying she did anything further than making that room. That's where we're at right now.
An issue that has now, at this point in time, I actually dealt with it 2 or 3 days ago. Whenever this was first risen up to my DMs, it has now been nullified.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. When was it nullified? So we can have a timeline here. Was it nullified 2 or 3 days ago, like you said?
Like yesterday, or hold on, let me see.
It was yesterday.
Let me see the message.
Yeah, because I heard from somebody yesterday that they left the server because it wasn't fixed. So I'm getting contradiction. Here. I have somebody who we know for a fact is in that server, who I'm not going to name, who left, because there are several people who have left throughout the last week quietly. And one of them specifically told me that the content was still very much there. Maybe it's a time zone thing. Maybe you did it right after they left, but that means it was at least late into the afternoon.
Let me
yesterday.
look into the server right now. Just to refresh my memory. Because I have to log on to my old account. As I said,
Do you want an invite really quick?
No, I don't. I don't really need an invite. I don't plan on joining that server with my
Okay, I'm
new
just making
account.
sure.
Um, logging onto my old account right now. I have 100 and ping. Cool. Um, so let me look at the GT server. I think I had nullified that issue. I definitely nullified that issue probably right after they left. The main person that posted in that, I think that there was only really one person that posted in that, and it wasn't even straight out porn. It was risky. We'll call it risky. Well, we'll say it definitely
Okay,
teeters the fine line.
let me put it like this. Is it something you would allow to be shared in this Discord server?
Well, no, I would.
Is it something that
Yeah,
you
no.
would personally refer to as NSFW, aka not safe for work, aka something you would not show a coworker in a workplace?
It definitely teeter totters the line because
It's a simple yes or no question. Is it something you would comfortably share in a workplace, a school, with your mother? Does it fall under any of those three?
I would not say that I would. Let me.
So then,
Well, I
by
mean,
definition, it's not safe
no.
for work if it's something you wouldn't share or disclose or discuss in the workplace.
Yeah, no.
Therefore, it is adult content by legal definitions, especially if enough nudity was involved.
Well, there's
Or
no.
if
Well,
sexual.
there's no. There's sexual inference, but there is not any nudity, which is why it by terms of Discord, not legal stature, but at least by terms of Discord, it does not count. It teeter totters the line of not safe for work. I would like to refer to my point again, being the fact that the only person that did post inside of not safe for work was Kalinsky, and he has been banned.
Sure, and that's great, but the fact that they made the room for him is a concern. If they made a room for porn in a server with minors and they made zero effort to age restrict it to keep the minors out, then that's an issue. Just blatantly, that is an issue. And the fact that you are backtracking and trying to cover it up and say, well, no, it was just this
Well,
one guy. Fact is,
I'm
at the end of the
not
day,
covering it up.
she enabled it. She enabled it to happen by making the room for it. Unless you can prove somebody else made the room, in which case that person enabled it, and they should be the one we should be concerned about. But from what you're saying, he asked for it, which means he didn't make it, which means he probably didn't have the ability to make it. So yes, well, he
Well, I mean,
shared that
allow me to
content, he's
check
bad. He's not
logs.
the only one in the bad. He's dealt with. Simple as that. He's in the wrong, but he's been dealt with. We're not talking about him today. We're talking about who made that room, who allowed it to stay. Because I did discuss that room with Alicia and tell her that's why I left her server. Because as an adult, I can't be around that shit, period. And I'm not having that argument, so I left. And I have message history proof. I got screenshots of that shit too. And I even screen shared that conversation to Generic so he saw that it wasn't doctored. That I have that conversation with her where she said she'd deal with it. And you just admit to me today that it took about 2 or 3 days from today before it was actually removed. Which tells me that she didn't do that. So she was knowingly, complyingly allowing the room to stay, which means that she was allowing other minors, including herself, to be around that content. She is liable now. Legally speaking, she could genuinely, at best, suffer fines if somebody went to the authorities about this. So I am again asking you, what do y'all plan to do about this? Because if y'all don't act on this, knowing that she's recruiting members of your community, for starters, I'd hate to see what happens if the public became aware of this. But ignoring even just the community's opinion, because I'd hate to see something happen with Foundation-7. This is a lovely community. I would hate to see what authorities had to say about this.
Well, I mean, that would be something that the authorities would deal with themselves. I mean, that's not. We have a very strict rule that comes upon what happens outside of the server is none of the server's business. whatever.
Even though it's members of the server being recruited into this
Listen,
area.
hey, Trident. For all I fucking know, you could be running a goddamn underground drug ring in your basement. But it's your life. What happens outside of the server, as long as it's not brought into the server, if it's brought into the server, Trident. If Alicia posts anything, if she even promotes her server in the Foundation-7, you can bring it up to me, and I will swiftly, come back with action upon it. But we have a very strict. What happens outside of the server is outside of the server, and is not brought in within our confines. Anything that is brought within our confines then would become a me issue. And how I deal with it is that I tend to ban people, no matter fucking what.
Right, but even though they're only recruiting members of this community, which means that it isn't within this community, that doesn't matter.
It is done through DMs. It is done. At least what I know is that Alicia sends it to people that she think are her friends, and on top of that, it is done through DMs, not directly through any contact of Foundation-7. No invite.
It's beautiful you mentioned that, because as per Discord standards, and this is actually how they enforce their rules too, it is considered a server's responsibility if the only method that they could possibly have DM communication is it through a mutual server, which is the default state of Discord, if you share a server or you're friended with the person. So if we only share this server and the backup server, then that tells you that the only way she could have possibly recruited me is by both of us being in this Discord. Therefore, it becomes this Discord's concern.
Not by Discord's community guidelines, rules. It is not. It is not like that. By terms of the Discord.com /community/developing server rules, there is no any type of infractions that would cause that.
Actually, no. I know, because I deal with that kind of stuff on a common basis. I run several adult content servers. We have to keep kids out. So I know the not safe for work rules of Discord like the back of my hand. I know exactly what they punish people for, what they delete servers and accounts for, and ban people for.
Refer to me documented. Refer to me in exact quotes and screenshots, documents from Discord that are officially from Discord, and I will reconsider the place of Alicia in this server.
Sure. Should only take me about 3 or 4 minutes to get the specific documentation from them. So let's see here.
That specifically says that if a server that has people doing things in different servers becomes an issue of the main server.
Let's see. So it's a combination of a few different rules that you have to combine together. That is how it works, because they do that. That's how rules work sometimes. Rules sometimes combine together. So for starters, very first thing, which is within the community guidelines under the section of respect each other, number 7. This doesn't necessarily affect this server right away, but as I said, combine a few rules. Number 7, if you're under the age of 18, don't engage in sexual conduct or any conduct that puts your online and physical safety at risk. So for starters, making a server which has adult content.
That stuff can only be put on Alicia. None of that can be put on our server.
I'm not saying that can be put on you. I literally said that the first thing won't affect this server.
I'm not saying it on me. It's just.
I literally started by saying the first thing wouldn't directly affect this server. It's a stack of the rules together, because that's how they do their rules. They make general rules that then combine together to make the verdict for certain situations. That's how they do it. So firstly, the fact that she is under 18, and by creating a not safe for work room, by their definition, she is engaging in that content. Even if she's not active, because she moderates and creates that, it becomes her problem. Secondly, if you are truly the owner of that server, even if you aren't active, then at least the account you made that runs that server could be under risk by allowing that to happen. That's just the first thing, though. That's just the first thing. We haven't even gotten to the stuff that'll affect Foundation-7 yet. Number 8, of course, then comes up. Do not solicit sexual content from or engage in any sexual conduct with anyone under the age of 18. Because there is no role to opt in or out of that room right away, and it is not readily and obviously available, and that there is no attempt to confirm that anyone in that room is of age, that falls under rule number 8. So once again, you specifically and any moderation and anyone who's in that server falls under risk of rule number 8, which is why I brought it up in the first place to generic, because I wanted him to keep people from getting banned. I'm not trying to, control what people do in their free time. I'd love to keep kids away from that kind of content. It's kind of what I have to do as a server owner of those kind of servers, keep kids out. So very much I want to keep them away. But just as importantly, I want to keep adults from engaging with kids with that kind of content. Because there's so many reasons why that's wrong. But for start, it's fucking creepy. So that's why all of this even fucking started. I'm trying to keep everybody from getting in trouble with Discord. So apologies if I'm the asshole for caring. So yeah, you're already in violation of 2 rules. That could get your main account banned. Which, fun fact, they check IPs, and they can tell if there's a VPN because they check device ID too. So you'd be device ID and IP banned if they ban that main account for owning that server. So if somebody in that server right now were to hypothetically report that Discord and had, let's say, a recording of this conversation where you admit you were fully aware of everything involved, you'd be device banned. You'd be gone from Discord, dude. And I don't want that for you because you seem like a chill guy. I would hate for that to happen to anybody. Because I knew a guy that happened to. That dude was a piece of shit and he deserved it. But even then, I kind of felt bad for him because he didn't have any of his gaming groups. That sucked. So pushing forward, let's see. Number 8, those don't apply. Those do not apply. Don't sound misleading. Let's see. There's an argument. There is an argument for, where is it? Rule 18. Rule 18 basically says to not misinterpret your identity, so like don't pretend you're somebody else, by some of the users not indulging if they were 18 or older or younger. There's an argument for that. I don't think anyone would bother with it, but I know Discord's strict as shit, and they probably would count that. So if there's somebody who doesn't have their age clearly displayed and they have access to that chat, they could be in trouble for that. That wouldn't necessarily be on you or Alicia, though. Might be on Alicia for her not, sharing her age, but you can see it's starting to stack up. Anyone in GT could be in a lot of trouble. Number 19, do not evade permanent Discord level enforcement actions. That's what would happen if they don't ban this account, but they ban the main account. If somebody knew and reported that, you'd get a device ban for sure. Just flat out. There'd be no avoiding that. You'd need a new computer, a VPN, everything. Which I think we can agree would be pretty shit. So let's see. Continuing on. Number 27, do not organize, promote, or engage in any other illegal activity by sharing, pornographic content with minors. That's an illegal activity, at least in the U.S., where Discord is, mainly from California, which is an especially strict state. Not to mention, they'll sometimes think about your local laws on top of that. So, for example, users who are in the UK and Canada would be even bigger trouble. Even if they're a minor, they could face jail time. Like, GT is throwing a lot of people in genuinely legal trouble. And that's just the stuff I found right off the community guidelines. There's then the terms of service, which is about 5 times longer. So skimming through that just for the focal points, if my tabs will play nice with me here. or they won't, so I'll just have it as a separate window. That's fine too, I guess. Let's see, first thing, age requirements. If there are any users who are under 13, which I don't think there are in GT, that's an issue. I mean, especially if that kind of content's in there, but just in general. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. Communication primarily through servers. Your Discord account, content in Discord services. Your content is yours. We give us a license to use Discord. Blah, blah, blah. Monitor, translate, reformat your comment. Sublicense your content. Software, copyright, paid service restrictions. Do not use your services to do harm to yourself or others. This includes exploiting, harassing, bullying, spamming, auto-messaging, or auto-dialing people through our services. Probably wouldn't fall under that, but there is the argument that because she is sending people from this server invites to that other server, which is, as we've defined by the, community guideline, illegal, at least by Discord standards, if not any other reasonable system. But what do you call it? Thanks to that, she is therefore endorsing and advertising an illegal service. It then becomes the responsibility of those within the server that she is in choosing her targets to address that issue. They don't necessarily have to stop the server from existing or tell her to delete it, but they in the very least have to tell her, hey, stop targeting people from our community, especially if that is the only mutual shared community. Because, as we'll go later down, it does become the responsibility, and whenever you make a report, which I can show reports from the past about this kind of stuff, where they'll say, did you talk to the server staff first? 9 times out of 10, if the server staff weren't talked to, they won't do anything, because it was the server staff's responsibility to deal with it first. But if you did, they'll usually start poking and prodding at the Discord staff, and they might even join the server to look undercover and watch. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's already forwarded these concerns to a Discord staff member, and one could have been watching already. That would be an interesting turn of events. So, pushing further on, termination, how you delete the server or, do other things. Bullet point 3 of why they may terminate your account. Listen very carefully to this one. We reasonably believe termination is necessary to prevent harm to you, us, other users, or third parties. I want you to think, if they believe a server is illegal, they know that people are being invited from one server to that server because they have admission from the person who made the server. And the staff have admitted that they don't care because it's being done in DMs despite the only mutual server being theirs. And public knowledge that people are being invited from this server there. And those staff choose to do nothing about it. What do you think that qualifies as? I don't know about you, but I think I would call that harm to others.
That's a very extreme. I mean, those can really be applied to extreme cases that don't really apply to Foundation-7 due to the fact that, as it is a large server,
no, they don't care how big a server is. They do not care.
No,
there is nothing in here that says that there is an exception for your population.
Allow me to continue. As this is a fairly large server, obviously moderation will slip through the cracks, and that is not at fault of the Discord server. That is, it's stated multiple times.
Okay, well, let's backtrack real quick. Did you say on record that you were aware of the issue at least as of a few days ago?
Whenever...
No.
I was completely not even aware of anything that was going on until it was brought up to me by Generic.
And how long ago is that, roughly? You don't have to give me an exact number, like
yesterday.
A week.
It was yesterday.
Yesterday, that's funny, because, earlier you said, a few days ago, and that didn't sound like it would have just been yesterday. Plus, you said you run the server, didn't you?
I was reminded that,
Okay, well, let me put it like this. Generic has known for roughly a week now, at least. And I can double-check my PM history to see if it's been longer. But let's say a week for simplicity.
Generic says a lot of things. Generic Generic
No,
right
no,
now
no.
is saying to ban you, and I am currently talking with you. I am not trying to ban you. I'm trying to talk with you, and I'm actually currently trying to prevent you from being banned. He wants to ban you. Do you understand that, Triton? He wants to ban you.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure if he does, that'll go great for him, especially with me having video proof of him admitting that he's aware of this content. Oh, and I've been recording this entire conversation, so that's been giving me plenty of evidence as well. Thank you for that. So
So
y-
what you're gonna go ahead and do is what you're gonna do now. All right. I don't care who the fuck you think you are. I've read the community guidelines and I've read the terms of service as well. And I will now be, you know, practicing the how do I say this? I will now be practicing the right that is in the developing server rules that would be under rule enforcement. Um, and now that this has become a issue of breaking server rules, unlike what Alicia did to Foundation-7, because no pornographic images, no porn, no, not even any type of promotion of the
that's funny,
supposed
real quick, because
GT
I
server.
gotta
Wait,
ask you.
yeah,
No, 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 no,
no, no,
no.
no, no. I'm gonna fucking finish my fucking point.
Rule
You are
number
going to shut the
5: no
fuck up.
advertising in other people's PMs. It's
You
your own
are
server
going
rules.
to shut the fuck up. I am going to server mute you. You are going to shut the fuck up, and you are going to fucking listen to me. All right? All right. Thank you. So now, going over the community guidelines and the terms of service. Since we want to go ahead and start talking about the terms of service, you know, we will be talking about under the termination clause, which would be under, the terms. Discord's right of termination would be the terms of community guidelines or the other policies, which you and I both know that I have not been under the infraction of. Now, see how it works is that the server that was created, ownership was given to Alicia, which makes me not liable for anything that goes on. Ownership was passed over to Alicia, of which I have not interacted with the server at all. And, that keeps me away from that. I mean, for all I know, you could be doing whatever you do in any other Discord server, just how that works. Now see, Foundation-7 has a very clear-cut rule of, what happens outside of Foundation-7, as long as it does not directly impact the server, and as long as it, no rule-breaking content that is done inside of Foundation-7, if it's outside of Foundation-7, there's nothing we can do about it, because it's outside of the community. So, I will now be practicing the right of, rule enforcement and the enforcement from Gabe, because if you want to go into my DMs, you will be able to see, the DM that Gabriel Fontaine sent to, perhaps ban you, and it is not perhaps, but, I will now be practicing the right of rule
A
enforcement.
question. No, I have
you.
a question. Second anomaly. So I have a little question. Why is he? Did he share anything? Did he what did he do to get banned? I want a little context.
I shall explain momentarily.
Please do.